Thank you so much. Everybody hear me okay? Hopefully this works out, but I'm kind of hyperactive, so I'll be wandering around, mainly in front of the screen. But I got to tell you, I'm wearing prescription glasses for the first time in my life. So my last eye exam showed that I now have cataracts in both eyes. One of them's got to be replaced in probably a year, the other one 4 or 5 years. So I've had reading glasses, so I'm trying to figure out these progressive lenses, and so hopefully I don't stumble over myself, and then I got something in each hand here, but we're going to make it work. But it is great to be here. I just feel honored. I've been on this campus so many times. Lived in Orlando about 7 years, and somehow the first few weeks I was here, somebody introduced me to Mead Gardens, and it's one of my go-to spots for bringing friends and family to town. We just enjoyed this beautiful campus so many times. So delighted to be here to tell you a little bit about the Four Roots campus, which couldn't be more perfectly aligned with Mead and your mission and the way you focus on the environment and sustainability and giving people a deep, immersive experience in nature. But I want to talk about some of the science around nature-based physical activity. What does the data say around what happens to our brains and our emotions when we do anything in nature? And then I want to finish the talk talking a little bit about plant-based nutrition and the health benefits of plant-based nutrition. If you really want to, and we have time, I can talk a little bit about the new dietary guidelines for America that came out last week, and what might be helpful about those guidelines and what we might want to ignore about those guidelines. But anyway, let's move forward here. So again, Jay Groves, I have a doctorate degree in exercise science, clinical exercise physiology. I started out my career at Vanderbilt Medical Center very much on the clinical side. So I was responsible for creating exercise and dietary programs for patients following heart attacks, heart transplants, lung transplants, and it was a beautiful, exciting time in my career. But you spend much time working with those patients, and you really begin to notice some themes. A lot of these folks are diabetics. At the time, in Nashville, Tennessee, lots of cigarette smokers. You saw lots of folks who really didn't spend much time thinking about their diet and nutrition. Lots of issues with obesity. So what you saw was the contribution of lifestyle to some of these dramatic surgeries that saved people's lives, gave them more time. And it got me thinking about lifestyle and prevention, and I was so blessed at Vanderbilt to work with a number of staff, physician leaders around the nation in lifestyle medicine. So over the years, I got more interested in prevention, integrative medicine, and what we now call lifestyle medicine. So worked at Vanderbilt for 30 years, moved to New Jersey, and worked all around the state, kind of doing the same thing with the major healthcare systems. And then 7 years ago, moved to Orlando to take the job in Lake Nona. Did that for 5 years, and now I've been a part of the farm campus for a couple of years. I just can't tell you how much my wife and I love Orlando. Did not target Florida at all. Only time we'd been to Orlando, like so many other people, was to go to the theme parks, and wow. The richness of this city, the cultural diversity, the way the community-based organizations support each other to meet the needs, to address social determinants of health. Just love all that. So anyway, so let's start a little bit talking about the Four Roots Farm Campus. How many of you have had a chance to visit the Four Roots Farm Campus over off John Young Parkway North? Oh, that's great. Thank you for coming and seeing what we're up to. So, yes.
Is that where you were selling Christmas trees?
Yes,
okay,
that's exactly
right.
right.
I couldn't get there.
Did you buy a tree there?
I couldn't get there, but
yes.
yeah, I wanted to go.
So we partnered with Lucas Nursery on that project. So we are a not-for-profit 501c3, and our purpose is to really unearth the power of food to build healthy communities or healthier communities. And so many of you probably, well, let me go here. Okay. How many of you know John Rivers? Know a little bit about John's story? Most people know John in relationship to the Four Rivers Smokehouse, but what you may not realize is prior to the smokehouse, John had a 20-year career in healthcare. And he worked in the pharmacy benefit management side, was highly successful, sold his company, cashed out, and decided he wanted to start a restaurant chain, which was very successful. But as John transitioned from healthcare to the restaurant industry, saw the power of food to build community, food as medicine, he always wanted to build a campus, a place, a farm, where people could come to learn about the relationship between the health of our soil, the quality of the food that we consume, the nutritional value of it, and our health outcomes. We are in a society where the consumption of food is dramatically disconnected from the production of food. All right, now how many of you grew up on a farm or live near a farm? Okay, probably 12, 13 hands went in. If I went into an audience of millennials or younger and asked them, how many of you grew up on a farm, less than 3% of the hands would go up. We are very much disconnected from our food. We make a lot of assumptions. We go to the grocery store, even if we purchase the right things. Where did it come from? What's the nutritional value? Most of us don't know. It might be labeled organic. It might not. That tells you a little something. Did it come from Florida? Probably not. 80% of what we consume does not come from Florida. So John's like, let's build a place where adults and kids can come and get their hands dirty and learn about soil health and understand where a carrot comes from and wash off the carrot and come inside and learn from a culinary chef how to prepare a carrot smoothie or something, so that within 30 minutes of cleaning it and picking it, now you've consumed it and it's at its highest nutritional value. And that's how we fix the broken food system. What if we build a campus like that? So that's what we've done. And so thank you for John and his vision, and his wife Monica has been an equal part of this vision. But as you can see, we believe that food has the power to transform communities. It's not just about cultivating crops, it's about cultivating opportunity for education, sustainability, healthier lives, and a future where everyone has access to the resources and knowledge to thrive. We believe everyone in our society should have access to healthy nutrition. Now, they may not make the healthy nutrition choice, but at least we've removed access, food deserts, costs, things of that nature. We can't do this ourselves. We can only do it in partnership with so many other community-based organizations, but this is our aspirational vision. Now, the 4 roots, and John loves the number 4 because that's how many members of his family there are. And so the 4 Rivers Smokehouse, the for-profit side of our company, is called 42 Acres. But our 4 roots actually stand for something. And so they're really our 4 pillars. It's kind of what we're about. So if you come on the campus and you get a tour, you're going to hear us talking about all these things. So education, we have a lot of educational programs for school-age children. We partner with Orange County Public Schools, private schools. We host field trips. We even started a program recently. It's called Pre-K Days. So we have 3- and 4-year-old kids come to our campus free, and we do cooking demos with the 3- and 4-year-old kids. And we put little plastic aprons on them, and they make an absolute mess, and their parents are there. But they learn where produce comes from and how to make it fun and tasty and just a natural part of their life. And then we're a partner with Valencia College. Valencia's Ag Science Department runs their in-person classes on the farm campus. And then they go out onto the farm campus, and I'll show you an image of that in a minute, and they literally get their hands dirty. Health and well-being is kind of the pillar that I work with. The Culinary Health Institute is a partnership between AdventHealth and Florida Blue, and we're trying to figure out how to bring food as medicine to healthcare. So if we can grow healthy food on the campus, which we can and we are, how do we get it to patients that need it most and measure the impact? We're not a healthcare company, so we had to have some really powerful partners to do that, and we have that in Florida Blue and then Advent. And then sustainability, the whole farm is about sustainability. The way we practice organic growing principles using natural fertilizer, compost, the waste from tilapia fish, it gets filtered and pushed into our irrigation system to water our plants and to nurture our plants. The way that we built our building to maximize energy efficiency, a lot about sustainability. And then economic development for us, really is a couple of things. One is being a sustainable not-for-profit. So our goal, we're not there yet, but one day to be a grant-giving institution. That we have some profitable sides of the organization, hosting weddings, our CSA where you can purchase produce from us online. Those things are profitable enough so that we can sustain the whole campus, and then we can give grants to other community-based organizations that try to address food insecurity. Because if you've been to the farm campus, or if you know where John Young Parkway North is, you realize we're in the midst of a food desert. We're in the midst of a community that has a high incidence of hunger and food insecurity. And that's part of our mission to address that. Also for us, economic development is about employment. We think when the full campus is built out in a couple of years, we'll employ probably 150 individuals full-time. We also utilize volunteers, student interns, things of that nature. This is just a carve out of, this is the packing district. So the packing district is the brainchild, the development of the Dr. Phillips Foundation. I wasn't here at the time, but many of these buildings in the packing district in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, when there was lots of citrus grown in Orange County, it was taken to the packing district, squeezed into orange juice, or the produce was put into crates and it was shipped around the rest of the country. Well, at some point Orlando discovered theme parks and golf courses and hotels and resorts, and maybe someone could tell me where a citrus farm is in Orange County. I haven't seen it yet. We've discovered other things, but a lot of those buildings went dormant. Dr. Phillips owned the property, and now it's vibrant. You've got, over in this area, you've got a new YMCA, you've got a tennis center, you've got a big rock climbing gym over here. There's a Publix, there's a new office building being built. It's a vibrant community, but this whole area is basically a food desert. And Dr. Phillips heard about John's vision for this campus, and they said, we want a production farm, and we're so excited about this concept. John Rivers, we're just going to give you 40 acres and see what you can do with it. Nice. So we were very blessed that Ken Robinson and the leadership of the Dr. Phillips Foundation, they gave the 40 acres to the city, and they lease it back to us for $10 a year. We're able to handle that without much difficulty. And we're developing now about 20 acres of it. So here's basically an architectural rendering of the entire campus. John Young Parkway is like right here, okay, and we own this property too, or we lease this property. So this is our driveway. And right now this building isn't here. We've got some big growing fields. But what is present is, oh gosh, how did I do that? Let's go back. Okay, sorry. What is present is our 18,000 square foot greenhouse, and we have multiple growing systems in that greenhouse. Hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics, vertical growing systems. If food is medicine, we want to grow food in multiple systems and measure the nutritional quality of that food. And if there's a better way to grow a tomato or a cucumber to elicit a nutritional output that is better for our health, we want to be able to understand that. And so in that greenhouse are lots of different growing systems. This is our educational building. This is complete. It's up and running. Solar power. It's very energy efficient. It's one of only 2 buildings in the entire southeastern United States that have achieved the designation of a living building. And a lot of that was the way it was constructed. So we had to resource building materials that were local, within 400 miles. And that doesn't get you too far out of Florida. So the pine, pretty much everything that's there came within a 400-mile radius of Orlando, and almost all that building is recyclable. So if we had to tear it down for whatever reason, we could use those materials for something else or grind them into something else that would have some utility to it. So that is in place. And then this large area right here is called our permaculture forest. And that is all in place. And in that permaculture forest, we're trying to show people how to grow food as God intended it. There's 140 different kinds of produce growing there. And you're able to, I don't know if you can see the walking trails, it's like a labyrinth. I mean, I'm not suggesting that our campus is as beautiful as this campus, but we're getting there in small pieces. So you can walk through there. Most of the produce that's growing is labeled. It's got a name, a QR code that you can scan, learn what it is, when it's in season, and that kind of thing. So it's a very interactive component. We just finished the barn. It's about a 6,000 square foot barn. And we thought we were going to just use it as a working barn and put all of our equipment in there. But it's so beautiful, and it's strategically located. On the backside of the barn, this retention pond continues. There's a big fountain out here that probably goes 25 feet in the air. And so that's one end of the barn. The other end of the barn is the permaculture for us with our labyrinth and our lawn. And so John said, you know what? That's going to be a wedding venue, until our event center is open. So what's there now is the education building, the greenhouse, the barn, the permaculture forest, and we have multiple growing fields in this area. When everything is up and running, we'll be producing about 20,000 pounds of produce every single week. Now, what do we do with that produce? We have a few customers. One of our customers is SeaWorld. And SeaWorld purchases lettuce and kale from us for their manatees. For their manatees that are being rehabbed, they've been injured or had some health crisis. And we have a few restaurants that purchase from us, but we mainly use our produce for our CSA. And CSA stands for Community Sourced Agriculture. It's basically a way, if you live within 50 miles of Orlando, we will deliver produce to your front door. And you can go on our website, 4rootsfarm.org, and look for Fresh by 4 Roots, and you can order by the item, or you can order the box of the month, and about 40% of what you get comes from our campus, and the rest comes from Florida farmers that practice organic farming. So in addition to that, we get grants from so many community partners to take that produce and to get it into the hands of people that are food insecure. So we work with Seniors First, Meals on Wheels, Salvation Army, Second Harvest, so that we can get fresh produce to their customers and to the communities that they serve. So lots of production here, and eventually so the next building to come is right here. This is our event center. We've got the funding for it. We're starting construction this quarter, and it will be about 16,000 square feet, and it will seat about 300 people in banquet-style seating. The design of it has been totally changed. John and Monica went to England recently, and now that barn is going to look like an English stone barn from like the 1700s, with a special garden around that, mainly a flower garden. But it's going to be pretty special, and we know that'll be one of the revenue-producing parts of campus. So that's coming next, and also in the next phase is our basically our stage, our community stage, where we can host concerts and outdoor venues. Church services can utilize this space. And lastly, right in this area will be our Culinary Health Institute. It's a building that's in partnership with AdventHealth and Florida Blue. That will be a medical clinic run by AdventHealth on this campus. Now, all of us have had experiences with the healthcare systems, and most of the time you walk in a healthcare clinic, and it feels like a healthcare clinic, right? You kind of know it's nothing fancy, nothing beautiful, no art. Magazines may be 10 years old, but that's not why you're there, Our building is going to look aesthetically, have some characteristics of this building. So it'll be wood, open space. You walk in the lobby. This is for your medical appointment, and you'll smell food being prepared. You might even see it being prepared in the lobby. You'll see your physician, could be a cardiologist, primary care specialist, and they'll really spend a lot of time talking about your food and nutrition. Then you'll go down into the kitchen with your doctor and work on food preparation. And then as you leave, we'll hand you a box of produce with recipes that are uniquely designed to help with your medical condition, whether it's cancer recovery, diabetes prevention, whatever. That's food as medicine. So that's coming. And we're also going to have a phytonutrient lab that will allow us to measure the nutritional quality of the food that we grow. So pretty excited about all this. Just want to say a few things about our impact. A lot of the programs and services that I described, our Meet the Need program, some of the educational programs were in place well before the farm opened. Farm only opened, I guess it was August of 2024. If you want to come and check it out, we host the Community Farmers Market the second and fourth Saturdays of the month from 9 to 1. We have about 40 vendors. That is a great way to come and just walk around, see the campus. You know, you could pretty well, walk in this space, go see the barn. We did recently discover an 8-foot alligator, so that has kind of changed the way we think about safety around the campus. So Florida's Florida. About 6 months ago, we decided we wanted to get in the honey making business, so we started an apiary, and we had 3 stacks working on the apiary, and within the first week, it was, let's say, destroyed by a local mama bear and 2 cubs. We have it all on camera. So, we are in the midst of nature. We have to cooperate with nature. But anyway, we'd love for you to come see the campus anytime you want to come. We have lots of events. We have a flower business. We have opportunities to teach you gardening skills. A lot of stuff you guys do out here, but we do a little of that. And we have lots of culinary classes. Last night we had a cooking demo. We have classes where we have a doctor, a dietitian, and a chef in the room with you as you're doing meal prep, learning culinary skills, and then also the health benefits of plant-based nutrition. So, love for you to interact with us. We have some brochures on the back table. You can go on our website and learn a lot about what we're up to. Okay, so let me stop there before I get into the component of the presentation about nature-based physical activity and plant-based nutrition. Any questions you might have about the farm? And just kind of that overview of what we're up to? Yes?
Do you ever have, do you ever go out into the community yourself and set up, like a farmer's market and where they have the food insecurity?
Thank you. Absolutely we do. So that was one of the first things we realized is not everybody can come to us. Not everybody can afford to come to us. So we have 2 mobile farmers market vans, and we go to 11 different locations in the city. Some of those locations are fairly affluent places like Lake Nona, where they just want to be able to access our produce. And then we get grants that allow us to go into Eatonville, Paramore, and other parts of the community that are underserved. Our mobile markets take SNAP cards, and we also have qualified as a resource for fresh access bucks. So when you use your SNAP card to purchase produce, you can double the value. So we are spending a lot of time going into Orange County, and we just got a grant to take the farmers market into Volusia County and Seminole County as well. So trying to expand our reach. And really excited that we got a grant recently to build out a mobile teaching kitchen. So basically a trailer with a kitchen that we're going to put on the back of our mobile farmers market, go into communities. Now you're dealing with access, so you're bringing fresh produce to communities. You're educating the community about the value of plant-based nutrition, and now you've got a chef and a dietitian showing them meal prep. So yes, we're going out into communities, and we're doing more and more of that as our staff expands. Yes?
Are the locations on the website?
Yes, the location's on the website. So our address is 1101 John Young Parkway North. John Young North Parkway.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was unclear.
Oh, where we're going? Oh, for the farmer's market?
Yes.
You know what? That is a good question. Let me look into that. It may not be. I know we were trying to put a schedule on the website that showed where we were in those communities and when we were there. But I don't know the answer to that. Let me look into that for you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we've got, about 35 minutes or so here. I want to talk to you about the health benefits of nature-based physical activity and plant-based nutrition. Again, I can't think of a spot in all of Orlando that's more aligned with this theme. So I'm probably talking to the converted in some way. So if many of you in this room are already living plant-based and you're out in nature every moment you can, at the least you're going to have some data that you're going to be able to go back to folks and say, you know, it's not just in my head. There's actually some real science about this. In fact, there's some real solid science as far as these concepts are concerned. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about public health recommendations for physical activity. What is nature-based physical activity? Then we're going to start talking about plant-based nutrition, and then we'll see where the conversation goes from there. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is get a little audience participation. I'm not going to call anybody out or embarrass anybody, but I want you to take a few seconds to think about a moment of your life where you engaged in some form of physical activity, outdoor physical activity. And you associate this moment with joy, pleasure, and something meaningful in your life. All right? Yes?
Having a garden bed and gardening.
Having a garden. Okay. All right, tell me more about that.
Well, it brings joy.
All right.
And there's just something about putting a dead seed in the earth and then having the benefit of
You learn a lot about life and a lot about nature. And and it feels good to have done that yourself. Yeah. And then you kind of do that. You share that with friends or family members? Is that just something you do on your own?
on my own.
Okay. All right. Somebody else, share an experience. What comes to mind when you think about this little assignment? Yes, ma'am.
Orlando Wetlands has a beautiful place where you go out and walk through nature, animals, birds, all that.
You could have some up close encounters with alligators out there. Yes, it is spectacular.
It is.
Yeah.
And you meet all kinds of people, you know, even if you go by yourself.
Yeah.
There's always somebody there to talk to you about.
And I believe it's still free, isn't it?
Yes.
There's no entry fee?
Yes. The only day it's not open is a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're deeply immersed in nature and its natural form out there. Yes? I'm sorry, you had a...
Is that around Fort Christmas?
Yes, it sure is.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You go through Christmas to get there. Christmas and Fort Christmas to get there. Yeah. Yes.
So I had an experience in Maine, Bethel, Maine, hiking in the mountains with my sister. We got really lost. Really lost. And she was like, this is gonna go to our grave with us, because we literally turned a corner and found our way back. But after that experience, I came back to Florida and I was like, I feel so good. I felt great. So I discovered what's called Shinrin-yoku, which is a Japanese translated to forest bathing. And they did a ton of research on it.
Yeah.
Photosynthesis, that the trees breathe out, your blood pressure goes down. So anyway, it changed my attitude. I have to go out every day. And I
Get your dose. Yeah.
Get my dose. And so I live near Bill Frederick Park, so I just go there with the grandkids and spend an hour, and it's great.
Well, thank you for sharing that moment particularly. And so getting lost in the woods of Maine is not a minor thing. The weather can turn, in a moment's notice. But you learn something about yourself. You said your sister?
My older sister.
Okay, your older sister, okay. And then you experience, not even knowing it, this idea of nature bathing and the way it was impacting you, kind of your soul and your spirit. Yeah. I don't have a lot of data on that, but it is powerful. Yes.
I grew up just outside Cherry Forest in England, where Robin Hood was supposed to be. And there's an old oak tree in the middle of the forest where it's called the Major Oak. You can look it up, it's almost 1,000 years old. And it was a huge hollow tree. And as children, not allowed to now because it's been closed off, but we were allowed to go in and actually play inside the tree where Robin Hood was supposed to have been. It awakened literature in me. It's awakened
Oh my gosh, wow.
It awakened family time. 7 of us in the family, we would all go together every Sunday. And it was just something that now we visit every preserve and every botanical garden we can find here. It's great.
Yeah, I'm hearing field trip in that story. I'll tell you, that sounds pretty amazing. My
You can't go
goodness.
inside it anymore.
Yeah,
because
okay.
The roots were being damaged, so it's still there, and you can look it up online. It's great.
So that sounds like that impacted you in a powerful way that you have not
I
forgotten.
can still remember
Yeah.
looking up through into, you could see the sky through the top of it, and just feeling the ghosts of Robin Hood and the sheriff. We were hiding in the tree from the sheriff. It was great.
Then you're imagining, and that's one of the beautiful things being younger and in nature. You have no limits in terms of the way you interpret that and experience it as a child, and your imagination can just run wild in beautiful, exciting ways. And that's what our kids need to understand and experience today. And they're inside on cell phones, and it's just so different. I grew up on a cattle farm in southern Missouri. It was 400 acres, and my parents we had a dinner bell. So get up in the morning, eat breakfast, and me and my cousins, they just, as long as you stay on the 400 acres, we don't care what you do. Because if you get hurt, we'll find you at some point, and you're going to hear the bell, you're going to come back for dinner. But I mean, it was a goldfish pond. I didn't even know all the different trees, but it was it's just how we learned to explore and understand each other and just the world around us. We had a garden there. I was just so blessed that 95% of the food we consumed came from that farm. You didn't waste food. You didn't throw it away. You never forgot those lessons. So when I'm in an audience like this and I ask people to kind of go through this activity, many of us struggle to be physically active. We're probably the most sedentary culture in the history of America. But we've all had moments of brilliance when it comes to physical activity. And when you start to ask these kinds of questions, you almost always hear similar themes. Typically, you're outside with friends, family. Sometimes I hear responses about folks being a part of a sports team, training with their soccer team or being on a rowing team, but there's still that sense of community, being outdoors, etc. But we all have these moments that we've experienced where we've been in nature and there was something about that moment that impacted us, impacted our hearts and our minds, maybe forever. And so I think part of the goal of nature-based physical activity is to get us to recreate those moments. Maybe you can't go back to Maine and get into the woods, but you can go to the Orlando Nature Preserve and Mead Gardens and other places. It's incredible, the options in Orlando as far as engaging with nature. But mountaintop experiences in nature, they move us. They change us. And we need more of them because of their impact on our emotional health and well-being. And that's the data that I really want to share with you today. So let's talk a little bit about definitions. So when I talk about nature-based physical activity, I'm not so much talking about structured exercise. That's all good. We go for walks and runs and we get on an indoor treadmill like I did this morning. It's too cold to be outside for me. I grew up in Kansas City, lived in New Jersey. Now all of a sudden 50 degrees is too cold for me. I've been spoiled by the Orlando weather. More just physical activity, just anything that produces skeletal motion as opposed to structured exercise. So what is the value of nature-based physical activity? Where we're moving, not necessarily trying to train for a purpose, but we're just outside, we're engaged with nature, our bodies are in motion, and perhaps there's other people around us. Now, we know there's lots of benefits to regular exercise. This is CDC guidelines for how much physical activity do we need. About 150 minutes a week is the recommendation of moderate intensity physical activity. That's like walking 2 miles moderately to vigorously 5 days a week. But if we can hit that, then the health benefits are absolutely profound. And ideally, we'd like to do a little bit of strength training. Strength training really matters, particularly as we get older, because as we lose strength, we lose function. And for instance, if you lose enough strength and function where you can't get out of a chair easily, it's life-changing. You lose enough strength and function where your balance is a problem and you're likely to fall, it's life-changing. So, both of these things matter. Now, why do these guidelines, why are they what they are? Why is it 150 minutes? Well, there's good evidence. So this is a physical activity dose response in relationship to heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, colon cancer, breast cancer, major depressive disorders. And when you basically hit that threshold I was talking about, you see about, in this instance, 25, 30% reduction in ischemic heart disease, blockage of the coronary vessels, stroke. Type 2 diabetes is even more dramatic. You can reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes by almost 60% if you hit that activity threshold. Colon cancer is about a 10% risk reduction, breast cancer close to 20%, and emotional health and well-being, it's powerful. Almost a 40% reduction in the likelihood of having a major depressive disorder. So we know that if we can hit this number, lots of good things happen health-wise. However, it's a challenge. Probably, I doubt if anything I just said was new to you. You know, if you read social media, we understand the health benefits of physical activity. But the percentage of Americans that meet those two guidelines that I just showed you, equivalent of 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity physical activity and strength training twice a week, is not even 50%. So as a nation, we struggle to meet that guideline, even though the science is profound and it's real and we understand the benefits. So we have the education, but we're not necessarily inspired to meet the guideline. We're going to talk about that. Now this is CDC guidelines for physical activity by age range, and it's kind of a sad story. This is the percentage of folks meeting these guidelines. This is the most active segment of our society, 18 to 34, okay? Maybe just getting married, starting to form families, and the kids get older, life happens, then we get into careers, and then we have health issues, and then we turn 65, and what's going on here? All right, I'll tell you, I'm in this category. So we're supposed to have more leisure time, but frequently we're limited by health. We're limited by mobility. We're limited maybe by access. We may live by ourselves. We may not have the ability to afford a gym, things of that nature. So the challenge of meeting CDC guidelines really is more substantial as we age. And this is where we talk about food as medicine, exercise can be medicine. It's the thing that can keep us out of the hospital, can keep us stable from falling, having a fracture, just a long list of things. Now, this is also an interesting number. This is adherence rate at fitness centers, 2 fitness centers, okay? Lots of members. So here's January 1st, 2 different centers, right? And I'm telling you, January 1st, I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to turn over a new leaf, and it's all going to be good. The traffic's not going to be there. The kids are going to behave. Everybody's going to cooperate. We mean well. We really, really do. And then life happens. So a month later, we've had about 30% drop off. This one was a little bit less. By 6 months, 70% drop off. Same thing here. What do you all think? What are the things that make it so difficult to meet these CDC guidelines? Why is it so hard to become active and stay active?
Distractions.
What's that?
Distractions.
Distractions. Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Like so many screens to see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not like the whole
And
world
lethargy.
lines up so we can be active. There's a lot that can occupy, because exercise also requires time. You got to get there, you got to dress accordingly, and it's 150 minutes a week. Does everybody have 150 minutes a week? There are other things that can distract us. Yeah.
I'd add 2.
Okay.
It's got to be fun, and you have to do it with friends.
Absolutely.
For me,
Yeah.
I don't like to do it alone, but I have friends who do it with me.
Yeah. And that distracts you.
No,
Yeah.
it gets me there. The
Gets
hardest
you
part,
there. Okay.
the hardest part for me is getting my shoes on.
So the friends are the accountability.
Yes,
Somebody calls you
yeah,
and says, "Hey, let's
and I'm
meet here."
picking you up.
Yeah,
Or I'm driving or they're driving and we're going. And
Yeah, there's
So
so
that's
much
for-
wisdom in what
essential.
you just said, in your personal experience, that having an exercise buddy or a community to hold you accountable, support you, encourage you, may be the most important thing you can create for yourself. Now, that's not true for everybody. Some people are loners when it comes to physical activity, and they're highly motivated, and they can get up in the morning and do their own thing. But for the vast majority of folks that struggle from a motivational standpoint, that community aspect is absolutely vital. Go ahead.
This is kind of funny, but I go to a weekly yoga class, and I'm not there this morning because you showed up.
I am so sorry. I'm honored that you're here, but the last thing I would want to do is get in the way of your activity.
Great use of my time.
Well, and we're balancing all the responsibilities, and you've got family and grandkids. You probably most people on here do community service, but just remembering the value of physical activity and meeting those guidelines in terms of our health, longevity, and our quality of life. We just don't want longevity. We want rich, vibrant years as we age, and exercise can be an important part of that equation. Yes?
I've just remembered another thing. I have a watch, and it has a workout fitness app in it, and I share it with my granddaughter. So I know when she's working out, and she knows when I am. And then she writes to me and says, none of my friends have a grandmother that does that much. And so that's sort of an artificial community, because she's in, South Florida, but.
I love that.
Yeah.
What a beautiful way to connect with your grandchild. And that reinforces, if she sees you moving, I mean, the biggest predictor of teenage girls being physically active is the physical activity levels of their mom.
Or grandmother.
And their grandmother. Absolutely. A female figure in their life who says it's okay to sweat. I remember when I started working in cardiac rehabilitation at Vanderbilt in the 1980s. And I had a woman in my rehab program who had a heart attack. And we were trying to get her to exercise in a way that we knew would be therapeutic. And she just wouldn't go for it. And she would just, I don't want to work that hard. And finally, I said, Jane, what we're trying to do is get you to the point where you'll sweat a little bit. Because if we can get you to the point where you're sweating, we know that your heart rate's high enough to benefit you. And she said, honey, I don't sweat, I listen. And I never sweat in public, So we need girls to have role models that say it is okay to sweat, it's okay to exert yourself, and to share that with your grandchild. I absolutely love it. So there's a lot of lists, a lot of reasons for this, and everybody has their own barriers. For some people it's cost, it's access, but I believe that part of the problem is, from an exercise standpoint, we've tried to take this beautiful concept of getting people to move, and we've said, all right, you got to be in a building, you got to have a membership, and there's a time and a place for that, particularly the group component. But what we have forgotten is the importance of physical activity and the fact that when we're outside and moving in nature, there is a sense of joy and play there that it's kind of hard to recreate inside of the building. So when we talk about the health benefits of nature-based physical activity, the research kind of looks at intentional exposure. So you purposefully going to Orlando Nature Preserve because you want to walk outside, or you get on your bicycle, or you go play pickleball or gardening, etc. The whole purpose of doing it is to be outside. And then we've got indirect exposure to nature. So you build a beautiful building, like we've done at the farm campus, and you put natural lighting in there, lots of windows, etc. If we can't be out in it, at least we can bring nature inside, plants inside, things of that nature. And then incidental, it's interesting now how most of the shopping centers are no longer places we go inside. They're more these outdoor malls where we go in a store, come outside, there's gardens built. It's a very different experience, one that I've certainly welcomed. So there's powerful data to show that nature, no matter how you experience it, improves lots of data. Now, so lots of dots on these charts. So this is well-being and nature exposure by country. And the reference point for the U.S. is California. So nature exposure, this is average number of green space visits. So how many times does somebody go into a place where they're absorbed in trees, plants, green space, and the relationship between well-being? So this is number of exposures in the last 4 weeks, and this is my self-reported assessment of well-being. So you can see that other countries have more exposure and they're higher levels of well-being, but there's a linear relationship. The more you do here, the higher your well-being. Even in California, less intentional exposure in green space than other modernized countries. How about blue space? Inland blue space, lakes, rivers. Same relationship. Number of exposures, increased well-being. Now, this doesn't mean that you're exercising, you could be on a boat, you could be fishing, but you're at the lake, you're at the river, you're engaged, you're visually present with that aspect of nature. This is number of days coastal blue space, so now I'm around an ocean or some kind of coast with sand, etc. Again, this strong relationship between more exposure, better well-being, and then this is my sense of being connected to nature. So higher connection to nature, higher sense of well-being. Now this is not so much about physical activity, but it's a profound relationship that is true all across the planet. That when we expose ourselves to nature, you pick the color. Some people like brown space. Anybody like going to
Brown space.
Southwest and the desert and Grand Canyon? And it doesn't matter. Whatever our thing is in nature, the more we do it, the better we feel about ourselves. There's a sense of joy and peace and connection and whatever that is. But something in nature speaks to our heart and soul, and that pretty much can't be denied. Now, what does the data say about nature-based physical activity? So, being in those environments or around those environments and being active. So what I'm going to do is just say, all right, so physiologically, this is a powerful study that came out in 2021, did a meta-analysis, looked at all the best science, and pretty much showed us that physiologically, that when we are in nature, our resting heart rate, blood pressure, cholesterol goes down, body mass index gets better, our heart rate variability, which is the difference between our low and maximum heart rate, improves. That's a good thing. We metabolize glucose better. Our stress hormone cortisol goes down. Dopamine, which elevates our mood, goes up, and our inflammatory markers. So by physiological measurements, drawing blood, physiological assessments, it's powerful, it's real, and it's pretty definitive. How about psychological and emotional? Improvement in our health-related quality of life. So this is a survey where I answer in its questions about my mood, my emotion, my energy level gets better. Depression goes down. Anxiety goes down. Fatigue decreases. Body image, I feel better about myself. My attention to my environment goes up. My ability to process my emotions and mood, that's a big thing. That improves. And I have a better sense of locus of control. I feel like I have a sense, I'm the one that chose to go for this walk. I'm in nature. I feel connected to nature. Powerful benefits. Let's keep going here. Don't want to overwhelm you, but cognitively, how does nature affect our brain function? This one's pretty interesting to me. Increased attention. We're paying attention. All the senses. Think about in nature, sight, smell, visual. Put your feet on the ground. I mean, it's kind of all there. So we have more attention. Memory function, we tend to remember activities in nature more than those that are, let's say, more clinical in the building. Academic performance is improved. Our intelligence scores go up. Less arousal, less anxiety, decreased frustration. We dream a little more. We're more creative. Those are powerful cognitive changes. Some of you experience that regularly. You know what I'm talking about. Then socially. When we're in nature with other people, there's a sense of, okay, there's people around me, so I feel like somebody cares about me, I'm connected, increased sense of social networks, stronger relationships, sense of community, solidarity, and there's lower healthcare spending among people that access nature regularly as far as physical activity is concerned. So what's going on here? Some of you talked about it, but when we're in nature, there's not any parameters around how we play. It's fun to put young kids out in nature and what they turn into a playground, what they jump on, and they go to the mud puddle, and you got to play with the mud puddle, right? You jump in it, you interact with it, there's no limit to what you can do. And we become playful in nature in ways that we may not when we're indoors, and there seems to be more rules and parameters about what we can and can't do. These shared experiences in nature. Now, it's certainly real when you have a group of people that you're meeting up with and you know them and there's already connection. And to have that time in nature is even more powerful. But look at this. So these people are probably not necessarily there for each other, but there's this sense of, I don't live by myself. There are people in this community that are diverse. Maybe it brings me in touch with segments of my community that I might not know or be in touch with otherwise. But there's this a sense of sharing nature with other people. This park is for other people. It's a resource for our community. And I'm a part of this community, and that feels pretty good. And sometimes it's great to have those solitary moments in nature. You know, that sunrise on the beach. You know, you're with your family and everybody else is asleep, and you get up and God gives you a glimpse of creation on a sunrise. It's like, wow, was that just for me? You know, and then it's like, you just want more of it. But those solitary moments that I feel like that there's a bigger world out here, you know, my problems are okay. I know I'm being a little dramatic, but we've all had these moments, right? They're real, and you kind of have to seek them out, and sometimes they surprise you. And then these communal experiences in nature where you're intentionally with someone. It could be cycling together in a community, or you're doing volunteer work, you know, at Mead or at Four Roots or somewhere else, but your hands are dirty, you know, and you're growing and you're planning together. And then these shared tribal experiences. This is actually a group of seniors doing a form of Tai Chi to help with balance, but they're there for a purpose. So there's this sense of when we are active together in nature, it affects our mood, our emotions, our biology in real and profound ways. I tried to understand this a little bit, and so I found a study that looked at the effects of nature-based physical activity on the outcomes of psychotherapy. So the concept is, before you go see your psychologist or your psychotherapist, go spend 30 minutes in nature. And then come to your therapy session, and let's see what happens. So the concept is, if you go to get your dose of physical activity in nature, you're going to have a higher sense of self-control. All right, I chose that. That was me. I wanted to go for a walk, or wanted to get on my bike, or I just wanted to sit in a garden somewhere. It's a positive distraction. Takes your mind a little bit off those things that cause us worry and anxiety. I'm now regulating my emotion. I recognize, as I sit here, I don't feel quite as worried as I was an hour ago. I sense my breathing. I'm looking at the sky. I did that. By coming over here, my emotions changed. My life circumstances didn't, but my response, my emotional response did. That's a good thing, all right? And then it leads to less stress, so reduction in stress. Now I go into therapy, and my heart rate's down, stress level's down. I'm feeling calm, relaxed. Of course, I'm in a better position to talk to my therapist or my psychologist. And that's pretty much what they found, was physical activity in nature. All these biomarkers changed. It enhanced psychotherapy, led to decreased depression and anxiety. And so in the study, physical activity was shown to impact lots of physiological markers. Nature exposure acts as a moderator, enhancing brain-derived neurotrophic factors that lower cholesterol and cortisol levels. And these changes lead to more effective psychotherapy. I think the effect that nature had on those patients, which led to a better therapy outcome, is kind of what we experience when we make that choice to be active outside and in nature. I did a little bit of research on kind of what's the dose, because that's what people, okay, I don't have 150 minutes, but what's the minimum dose where I can go out in nature and have an impact? Well, I got some good news. You don't always have to have 30 minutes. There's significant improvements, even 5 minutes, particularly in green space. If you can sit in a place like me, you're having a hard day, maybe you're dealing with grief, loss, something, but 5 minutes in green space, your physiological and emotional biomarkers start to change. Every green environment improves self-esteem and mood. Presence of water helps a little bit. If you can be around green space and you're near could be a running stream, water, there's something about that that's a little bit more impactful than the green space itself. And both men and women reported similar improvements in self-esteem after green exercise. So men showed a greater difference in mood. That was kind of interesting. So even 5 minutes, if that's all you've got, it can change your day. It can change your mood. And imagine, before your spouse comes home, or the family comes to visit, where you've got political conflict with. And before they walk in the door, you take that 5-minute walk into a meditation trail, or you go outside near the nature preserve, and then you come in and welcome them. Might that impact just our emotional response to those moments? That was good news to me, that, okay, even 5 minutes, there's some good things that happen. So, how do you build this into your life? These 5-minute quick nature fixes. This is supposed to be a chair. At first, is that a tombstone? Maybe not the right image, but I did research that's supposed to be a chair. So even just sitting outside in nature, just a little micro dose. Barefoot grounding. Anybody go outside, take their shoes and socks off, and walk on the St. Augustine grass and the sand? That's a form of nature bathing. That's pretty powerful. It kind of takes the experience to a whole new level. Outdoor workouts, whatever you can take outside when you can. It depends on the time of year. You know, we have to be careful, obviously, in the summer with heat exposure. Lunchtime connections, sensory engagement. So using your lunchtime, even 5 minutes on a park bench, eating your lunch outside in nature is way better than being in your office or being in a conference room. Sensory engagement, and when you're outside, in those 5 minutes, just 5 or 6 breaths. What's going on sensory-wise? What are you smelling? What are you seeing? What are you sensing? That's how you take nature in. It's not, I'm on my phone as I'm in nature, being fully distracted. I think you lose the potential impact. But it's really, as we take in the senses, that's what usually impacts us in a physiological or emotional way. And gardening, you talked about it earlier, I can't think of a better way to not only immerse us in nature visually, but physically, growing, working the land, things of that nature. I want to just say something here. The most profoundly impactful movement of the last 20 years, sociologically, is pickleball. Pickleball. Now, I know it's not true nature-based physical activity, but most people engage pickleball outside. Prior to the pandemic, the number of people playing pickleball in this country was about 3 to 4 million. Now it's 15 million people. It's the fastest growing sport in the nation at all age groups. And it's getting people outside. You can't play pickleball by yourself. And typically people play in teams. And it has done more to get people out of the house, engaged with other humans, than any other form of physical activity probably in the last 50 years. We need more examples of that in nature to get people outside, whether it's nature bathing, nature walks, walking meditations, things of that nature. All right. Let's talk about the benefits of plant-based nutrition. And we'll spend, we've got another, I'm supposed to be done, right? You got 10 more minutes? Okay, let's keep going. I've stayed as long as you want. So as we think about diet and nutrition, probably nothing more controversial than diet and nutrition. And food is so many things. Food is community, food is family, food is celebration. Food is how we connect with our family, our network. It's how we provide, joy in our lives. But we know that food can be toxic. It can be medicinal. That the type of food we consume does matter. And that we want to be thoughtful about it. So what I want to talk about today is plant-based nutrition. So just to give you a couple terms, I'm not talking about everybody becoming a vegan, which excludes every form of dairy. Some people have made that choice. Vegetarian diet pretty much excludes meat, poultry, fish, and seafood, but allows for the consumption, sorry about the typo, of eggs and dairy products. Plant-based diet is just trying to encourage us to consume more whole, minimally processed plant foods, such as fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. And it may include some animal products. There's a time for it in a plant-based diet for fish and seafood. And even the American Heart Association, which is doing its best to reduce the number of Americans with heart disease and stroke, says that, 10% of your diet can come from lean meats. All right? So what we're saying is we just want more of this in our lives. Not trying to totally transform the way you eat or the way you view food, but basically saying, you know what? If we could get 30 to 35 servings of fruits and vegetables in our diet every week, we would probably have 95% of the nutrition that we need and all the fiber we need to have a healthy gut diet. And then however else you want to build your diet is kind of up to you. So these plant-based eating approaches have been around a long time. Mediterranean diet you've heard about a lot. Lots studied on that with blue zones, the kinds of produce that's available in the Mediterranean area and the kind of oils that they use. But there's also meats here. Obviously, Japan, Okinawa shows reduced risk of obesity, certain kinds of cancers. But their diet is very plant forward. And then plant-based diets in this country have been shown to reduce cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and some cancers. The data is pretty overwhelming that if we can just become predominantly plant-based, not exclusively plant-based, there's almost no health parameter that doesn't benefit from that. So can plant-based forwards reduce risk of chronic disease? Absolutely. So it brings in higher amounts of fiber. If there's anything we need more in our diet, it's fiber. We just don't get enough of it. And plants give us a lot of fiber. So that's a real benefit. So if you're not eating a majority of your diet from plants, you're probably having to be creative in getting enough fiber, whether it's Metamucil or fiber cereals and things of that nature. It can be done, but you almost don't have to think about it, getting enough fiber when you're predominantly plant-based. Plant-based diets are low in unhealthy fats, saturated fats, lower in sodium, sugar. Sugar is probably, in our society, maybe more the culprit even than sodium these days. And plant-based diets have complex carbohydrates, which are important for minimizing our risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cardiometabolic disease. Lots of overwhelming data as far as this is concerned. So how do plant-based diets impact our health? So due to high fiber and antioxidants, so these are things that reduce inflammation, it lowers the risk of heart disease, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, not so much type 1, but certain kinds of cancer, mainly colorectal cancers and breast cancers. Very much tied, primary occurrence and secondary occurrence, all improved by plant-based nutrition. Digestion. Everybody probably heard about the gut biome. You know, we got these bugs in our guts, and they're going to be there. But what kind of bugs we have? Bacteria, is what I mean. So a predominantly meat-oriented diet has a different set of bacteria than plant-oriented diet. And the bacteria is important because the gut biome impacts hormones that are released that could affect mood, it can affect your energy level, things of that nature. So having the healthiest gut biome possible, really, really matters, and plant-based nutrition helps us get there. And it affects mood, cognition, lower depression rates, and anxiety risks. I'm not going to go over all these, but when you're getting enough plant-based nutrition, you almost don't need to take a multivitamin. I mean, it depends on your age and your health challenges. I take a vitamin B supplement and fish oil and things that as they get older I need to reduce my risk of heart disease. My dad has coronary disease, and so I know that's out there. But I really focus on my diet as a way to get most of the nutrients. So most of the nutrients and the minerals that we need, and particularly the fiber, can be supplied through plant-based nutrition. Now, one of the things that we hear a lot when we talk to folks about plant-based nutrition is, man, I can't afford it. It's too expensive. And I tell you, that is no longer the case. If you look at the cost of ultra-processed food since the pandemic, I mean, $6, $7 for a bag of chips. I was in Publix the other day, and, I do all the grocery shopping for my family, and, a quart of ice cream was almost $7, and where produce has stayed a little inflation, but not near as much. It's now cheaper. This is the 2023 study that it's cheaper to eat in a more plant-based way than the more traditional, what we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet. It's kind of flipped that you can so whether it's cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, things of that nature, which are more satisfying in nature, It's now cheaper than all the ultra-processed foods that our society has relied on for year upon year. So these are some practical tips for budget-friendly tips for plant-based nutrition, meal prep, freezing your food. You need meal prep for the week, freeze your food, keep it for as long as you can. Look for deals on staples, beans, rice, oats. That's all pretty cheap stuff these days. Frozen vegetables are absolutely fine. It's a great way to get fresh, or not fresh, but at least enough fruits and vegetables in your diet. Shop for bulk, cooking in batches, things of that nature. Emily, I'll send you this slide deck if you want to send it out to anybody. You certainly can. So I know I've gone through this really quickly. Anyway, those are some of the benefits of plant-based nutrition. Let me stop there and take some questions.
I was just going to say, when I registered for this, it did say it was 10 to 11:30.
Oh, 10 to 11:30. Okay, then I can really relax. Give me even more of the longer sermon, and then let's just go with some questions.
You were going to give information on the new pyramid.
I do have one more slide.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about
You
this
read ahead.
a little bit.
Good job.
So, dietary guidelines for Americans. The Health and Human Services Department every 5 years updates the dietary guidelines for Americans. Now, let me just state one really important fact. Most Americans have no idea what those guidelines are, and they make no attempt to follow them. But where they're really important is for things like WIC, SNAP, school lunches, these federal food-based programs that are trying to get good nutrition in front of our community. They look at these guidelines and they follow these guidelines. So they are powerful, they are impactful, and they really, really matter. Now, there's a process that has been time-honored, as far as the creation of these guidelines are concerned. There is a scientific committee that is apolitical. Doesn't mean it's without influence. There could be people on these committees that maybe gave a talk for Kellogg's or places like that. But it's not a political appointee. It's a scientific committee that spends 2 years looking at the evidence and the research every 5 years to see how these guidelines should be updated. That process happened under the previous administration, and it finished up in 2024, December of 2024. I think it's 22 of the most well-known nutrition scientists in the country. It was co-chaired by a guy named Christopher Gardner, who works at Stanford University in their public health department. He's a national researcher on food and nutrition, and many, many others. So that was the end of 2024. They did their research. They updated guidelines for fiber, saturated fat. How much of this? How much of that do we need? And they gave them to the new administration, who sat on them. And well, we'll tell you what the new guideline is going to be in February of 25. No, April. No. And actually, not only that, we're going to get our own committee, and we're going to get our 9 experts. And we're going to determine how to interpret the guidelines. All right? So I don't know if they discounted completely, but impartial, the group of scientists that spent 2 years researching this, just like every other administration, in order to get the best information in front of Americans. And you can Google search this. I'm not trying to be political here. I'm just trying to describe what happened. Of those 9 members, I think at least 3 of them had ties to the dairy industry or the beef industry. And so it's easy to imagine how their expertise, smart scientists, might have impacted this. So, first of all, it doesn't look like a pyramid anymore. It looks like a slice of pizza, which is almost what it emphasizes. So the pyramid got turned upside down. And what's the first thing you notice here?
Steak and turkey.
Yes, here's the first quadrant. It's beef and dairy. Now, if there's one thing Americans don't need to do, it's eat more meat. We eat more meat than America and Canada eats more meat than any modernized country on the planet. And we get a greater portion of our protein from meat. So it's okay to say we do need protein, but we probably don't need more protein. In fact, the guideline is recommending that we double our intake of protein. That's not what we need as individuals and a society. So if you take this out of it, there's some good messages in here. There was a message of eat whole foods or eat real food. There was a message about eating less saturated fat. Definitely messages from the current administration about less processed foods, and particularly processed meats. I mean, it should be commonsensical that bologna, hot dogs, some of the processed meats, that's probably the worst thing you can. Some families have to rely on that, or they couldn't feed their family. I'm not talking about food insecure families right now, but it's probably not rocket science for us to understand that's maybe not the best thing to do for our kids and grandkids. But the most controversial aspects were right here, and the way they pretty well turned the pyramid upside down. And the previous pyramid was fruits and vegetables at the bottom, whole grains. You don't see beans, you don't see legumes in this image anywhere. And these are things that we know have great nutritional value and are really helpful in bringing fiber and nutrient-dense foods into our health, into our milieu of our family as far as food is concerned. So it's just the reality of where we're at. Lots of associations are giving their alternative interpretation of this. My point is, some of the messaging that came with this was actually pretty positive. But the visual image we were left with says, we need more of this, and we need more beef tallow. Have any of you seen the new signs from Steak and Shake?
Yeah.
100% beef tallow. Our French fries are made in 100% lard, if you will. So that's not what we need in our diets, and it's just bizarre how some of the messaging has already started. So I think it's got some, I believe there'll be some changes made in it. There's some thoughtful conversation happening, at the federal level around this. It confused a lot of people, and I think it created some messaging that was not consistent with good health practices. And so what I'm probably more concerned with is the process that this went through, and the fact that it wasn't science and evidence-based to the level that these previous guidelines were. They were never perfect. They always needed some additional detail. But if you can kind of ignore this piece, then there's mainly produce and fruits and vegetables here, being thoughtful about oils, and recognizing that refined bread is probably not something we want a whole lot of, but certainly whole grain bread is a good thing and ought to be in everybody's diet. So did that answer your question, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You all are informed individuals. You read up on it, draw your own conclusions, but I was just on a webinar yesterday that addressed this exact topic and really talked about, from some of the scientists, here's what we did and here's what we created, and that's out there too, by the way. And the last two steps were the federal government had to use this data before they issued the new pyramid, and by golly, they went a little rogue on that. So that's where we're at. All right, how about other questions? Yes.
How do we visit besides the farmer market days?
Yes, so thank you. The question was, how do you visit the Four Roots Farm besides farmers market? We have lots of events. So fourrootsfarm.org, if you click on events, you'll see lots of things happening. From growing your own garden. We had a class the other day on how to make mocktails. Had 30 people come. How to make mocktails in a healthy way. We have lots of cooking classes. If you want to come and do something that doesn't cost you much, the fourth Thursday of every month, we have a plant-forward community potluck dinner. The price of admission is you bring a plant-forward dish. You have to register online. You don't pay anything. But you tell us you're coming, and here's what you're making, and you bring your recipe. And we just sit around a big table together, and we talk about food and nutrition and health. One of our dietitians will typically do a 15-minute talk, and we just enjoy life together. And every month we have about 30 to 50 people coming, and would love for you to be a part of that. But on our website is a list of lots of activities. We also have quarterly festivals. So we had a fall festival where we had a pumpkin patch. It was like a farmer's market kind of on steroids. We had 1,200 people come over a 4-hour period of time. We're going to be doing one in the spring as well. You can't just right now just drive up to the campus Monday through Friday and just take a tour. You have to schedule that. But the campus is open. If you want to rent the space, you have a community-based organization or a corporation you're part of that might want to come out there, not just rent the space, but like tomorrow, we've got a company coming and they're renting the space and they wanted a cooking demonstration. So their 20 executives are going to get in the kitchen together and do some meal prep with my dietitian. So there's opportunities to engage in the campus that way. Once it's fully built out, and we have, because I didn't mention, we're going to have a welcome center and a farmer's market that'll be open 7 days a week, and a cafe and a coffee bar. That'll be probably 2028. There will be more of an open component to the campus where you can come and be a consumer and just walk around the campus, kind of like you can here. But we're not quite there yet. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
When did you say that potluck is?
So it's a week from tonight, at 6 to, it's the fourth Thursday of every month, from 6 to 7:30.
Third Thursday?
Fourth.
I'm hoping a week from tonight is the fourth Thursday, or I'm really giving you bad information. Isn't it the 22nd? So that should be the fourth Thursday of the month. So we consistently try to have it the fourth Thursday of the month. And there'll be people there, and it's plant food. You're not going to find any meat there, but you'll find some dishes made with cheese and yogurt and things of that nature. But one of the things I love about it, every culture approaches plant-based nutrition a little differently. And it's just fun to see the variety of dishes that are brought. And, I'll just tell you, I got a bit of a sweet tooth. I didn't know that vegan desserts could be so tasty and, memorable, let's just say. But we typically have appetizers, salads, main dishes, and desserts. There's always plenty of food. And our goal is to keep building our bank of recipes. And one day we'll have a Culinary Health Institute digital recipe book that you can tap into and utilize. But please be a part of that growing community. We've been doing this for about 6 months, and it's gone, really, really well. And we love it. And it's doing life around a table. You've got nothing more basic than that. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. Yes?
So plant-based foods obviously start with our soil.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Plant-based foods start with our soil.
Start with our soil.
So how do we tell if our plant-based foods are nutrient rich?
Right now, there is almost no way to know other than the flavor of that food. Now, you can, so that is a great point, and I haven't emphasized that enough. John Rivers, when he gives this presentation, he's way more knowledgeable about this than I am. He talks about the fact that our soil is being radically depleted by these large industrial farms, and we're not going to get rid of the industrial farmer because we got to feed 10 billion people around the planet. But their practices have overutilized chemicals, and they've been monocrop, same crop, year after year. And so, just as an example, an orange that you consumed in 1980, to have the same nutritional value today, you'd have to eat 8 of those oranges. Why has the nutritional quality of those oranges dropped so much? It's what's in the soil. There's less nitrogen, phosphorus. You have to put more fertilizer into it. And so, primarily, you know if a food is labeled as organic. So if that means minimal or no chemicals, probably natural fertilizer, compost. They probably use cover crops in between the growing season. So that's one way, but other than that, you can't know. So we're going to have a phytonutrient lab on our campus. It's really expensive. One of the reasons companies don't do it, gosh, if you send off, because we did this recently, sent off 6 tomatoes and 8 peppers to a lab in Colorado, and it cost us like $3,000 to learn anything about the nutritional quality of our food. But I will tell you, the research that I've seen recently says that the nutritional quality of organic food to traditionally grown food is not dramatically different. The power of organic food is the impact on the environment. Less chemicals, all right? So it's going to leave healthier soil and probably potentially a smaller carbon footprint. So I'm going to keep eating organically. even if I don't know for sure that the nutritional value of the food is better. So I don't know how, other than flavor. You know, you get a tomato and it's got a rich taste and you know it, and then you grab one and it doesn't, and why is the taste not there? The nutritional value. But you sometimes don't know until you get home to your kitchen. So I don't know of a app that can tell you based upon the color. There's apps out there. Okay, you got tomato, it's probably this size, and here's your calories, and generally here's what's in a tomato. But it can't really grade the micronutrient value of one form of food to another. Maybe that technology's coming, but it's not there yet. But soil health really, really matters. And John's vision is one day to have about a 100-acre farm somewhere near Orlando, where we can teach farmers how to really grow in high volume using regenerative farming methods. Regenerative is as you grow the food and you harvest it, you leave the soil in better shape than when you plant it. There's real ways to do that. So a 100-acre farm and an ag science magnet school that's a part of Orange County Public Schools. How about that? Farmers growing organically and regeneratively with students learning to be the next generation of farmers using technology. So there's hope, but I don't have a good answer for you or a solution for you. All right, other questions? Yes, sir.
We understand the bears are anxious to have you ramp up honey production again. Are you going to do that?
So we have not given up on the apiary. So we are rebuilding it and putting a fence around it. We're basically saying to the bears, we invaded your property. We caught them on camera. We just didn't want to physically catch them, you know. So we have it all on film. It was pretty cute. So we're going back there again, and so we're in the process now of rebuilding the apiary and putting some protection around it. Will it be enough? And I don't know. We'll see. We also have coyotes in the area. I told you about the 8-foot gator that's in our retention pond. And so we know that we are in the midst of what used to be a nature preserve, and there is one right next door to us, and we've got to be good stewards of all that. We do use some animal husbandry in the farm right now. We have a growing field that is divided into 7 sections, and each section we're growing a different form of produce. And we use regenerative practices, so we don't till, we plant, and then it's a different form of produce in each section. Yes, there you go. Okay.
Are you doing it this way? I mean, is that?
Okay, so you're showing aquaponics. Yes, all those methods you have, we have in our
Do
greenhouse.
you get the nutrients in that way?
Correct. And what we want to do is be able to test the food to know that the nutritional value is higher than traditional growing methods. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, okay, yes, thank you. So the market garden. So we plant and how we incorporate animal husbandry. So thank you. I usually get those thoughts. Typically it's when I'm in my car and I'm driving home. So anyway, we recovered that concept. So let's just say we've got a field of broccoli. We harvest the broccoli, and then we plant a cover crop. Cover crop is usually some form of healthy grass that adds nutrients back to the soil. And then we put an electric fence around each area, and we bring in pigs. Pigs devour the cover crop, and then they deposit their waste, and now we've got fertilized, rich soil ready for the next growing season, and then in that field, we plant a different crop. So we're practicing that in our what we call our market garden, and 100% of the produce from that garden goes to our CSA. We may have chicken coops one day. There are other ways we're exploring animal husbandry. We're just kind of learning as we go and what will work in that environment. I'm loving these questions. Thank you. That you're helping me talk about things I either forgot to talk about or should have added. Yes?
Before I forget, I just want to say very inspirational and thank you. Just got us all motivated, even though we're 2 weeks into the new year.
Well, it's okay. It's never too late to just make a little bit better, healthier choices. You know, and it's just one of those 1-5% things. We get a little bit better every day. We keep adding to that, and it can have an accumulative power effect. But thank you so much for your time and your attention and just caring about this.